Hello guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of Haunted Gaming. This time we do a creepypasta called C5NTX50EYYQ, a creepypasta based on an alleged Japanese game about a demon killer. This creepypasta begins with the author telling us about a game called C5NTX50EYYQ and how a lot of people were really excited for this game's release. I mean, come on, wouldn't you be excited about a Japanese game centering around a demon killer? No one had any idea about the meaning of this game's name, and no one really cared. But as people played the game, it literally scared the living shit out of them. Some smashed their discs or threw out their consoles because of this game. According to the author, these people were the lucky ones. The author states there was a boy, who the author refers to as Zach, and we'll refer to the boy with that name as well. He's about the age of 18, who purchased this game. Zach stated that the game was no match for him and he enjoyed the horror genre. So naturally, this game excited him. Zach went to his new home and read the game's instruction manual for a while. The game looked amazing, and the language was mainly Japanese, with some English, primarily the words demon and death. Zach had the idea and began to play the game, sticking it in his console, and according to the creepypasta, we have no idea what it is, but we'll play along. The game had no introduction or any developer or publisher logo. It was strange, and once the title appeared on the screen, all the eyes in the title were dotted with a glowing red eye. Zach pressed on what he thought was a start game option, and according to what happened, it seemed to be the right choice. The game began and the character was sleeping in some shack. The character had a low quality model and meshes appeared to be dead at times. Zach, however, wasn't a graphics whore and just wanted to complete the game, and was determined to do so. The character in the game woke up and uttered something in Japanese. Zach couldn't understand it, but continued to play the game. After walking out a couple of doors, Zach came across what appeared to be a blood-red portal. Zach noticed there were no demons, and was confused as to why there was a lack of them, and stopped moving the character in the game. As soon as the character stopped, a voice was heard. "Why have you stopped?" Zach grew a tad scared and thought the game was programmed to state this. As the author stopped, Zach tried to move, but he couldn't. The game then spoke again, and this time it stated, "Move. All you need to do is push forward." Zach moved a little forward, but stopped again. Zach also noticed that the game's voice was in English instead of Japanese. This thought alone began to creep Zach out a little more. Zach wanted to turn the game off, but the game talked again, this time saying, "You are a waste. You cannot play C5NTX50EYYQ." Even after all this, Zach kept on playing. But little did Zach know, this wasn't even a good idea. Zach couldn't move at all, and the game's voice was laughing. Out of the blue, a red-eyed shadow walked up to the character in the game. The shadow tore through the character, but the game didn't show any game over screen. The shadow walked up to the screen and began to smile. Zach was terrified at this point and backed up to the door, only to find out it was locked. Zach said that he didn't want to play the game anymore, and the game's voice replied with, "No, you will lose." Zach was pulling the doorknob, but the door wouldn't budge whatsoever. The hand of the demon reached at the screen, pulling itself out of the television. The feet were heard hitting the floor. The shadow moved towards Zach, and it laughed demonically as Zach screamed for his life. Next thing you know, Zach was lying dead on his floor next to his door. The police were at the crime scene and investigated for a long time and couldn't find anything odd. No sign of a demon, the game had no end credits, and the only thing that was visible on the screens were the words "Game Over" in bloody writing. I assume similar to Resident Evil's Game Over screen. Zach's body was never found at all, but his blood was on the ground. There was an open case and no suspect could be determined, and no witnesses were present. After this event, all copies of the game C5NTX50EYYQ were taken off store shelves. The author closes this creepypasta by telling us that C5NTX50EYYQ actually means death awaits, and no one knows this better than poor old Zach. Well, what do I think about this creepypasta? It's short, but it's decent, and it's got its cliches, but they're not deal-breaking. I tried searching around for this game and couldn't find any results. Was I surprised? No, I wasn't. Now, I'm not sure about the locale this game took place at, or what console the game was being played on at all. All I can really infer is, though, that this takes place in North America or Europe, but Zach had no idea about the Japanese language in the game, or maybe he just moved to Japan and had no idea the language yet. There's a lot of details that are missing, a lot of details that I believe are pretty vital to any gaming creepypasta that are just oddly removed from this. But then again, they're not so important, and I can somewhat overlook them, although it is really odd. The game is our main focus. Now, I thought the game was interesting, and based on many games I've played coming from Japan, I honestly thought a game like this existed initially, and was disappointed to see that it didn't exist, you know? I mean, like, I would have been really excited, and I honestly believe that a game about a demon killer would really exist. Now, as much as I like this creepypasta, it kills a lot of its realism once you get to the point where the shadowy figure steps out of the TV. Granted, it's a lot creepier than any plushie appearing next to you, it still kills the creepiness. I wish there was a little more build-up in this. Like I always say, some of you wonder why there has to be build-up. Whenever you're doing a scary story, you gotta always have an atmosphere. You gotta always have build-up that, leads up to a satisfying scare at the end, and genuinely creeps the person out as they're experiencing or reading along or watching it or whatever medium you're using. Now, there doesn't always have to be any build-up. Granted, there's many other ways you could do it, but in this kind of creepypasta, the way it's written, there's got to be some build-up. I, for one, never knew how scary this game was supposed to be. It didn't sound like as scary as it was touted to be. Seriously, hey, if the demon killer went out of the TV and tried to kill me, I would have shat many bricks, a lot of bricks. But it didn't seem so scary to the point where, you're going to throw out your console. No. At least not in my opinion. If there was more build-up, hey, why not? If there was more explained, sure. In the end, I thought it was pretty decent, although a little short. As far as the name goes, Death Awaits, I could try putting it into a translator, but I don't speak the language, and I wouldn't really know the pronunciation. But hey, I'll trust that Shigemateiru really is Death Awaits. If you know how to speak the language, you could post it in the comments below and, tell us what it really means, and if it's the right translation. But yeah, I do recommend you all to go check this creepypasta out. Links are in the description below. What would you change to make this creepypasta better, and what would you rate it? And if you have any other awesome creepypasta that you'd like me to do, please tell me in the comments below. There's certain creepypasta that I'm trying to refrain from that I will never mention, but I hope you get the idea. This has been another episode of Haunted Gaming, and if you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe. This is me, Mudahar, and I'm out.